Welcome back into Gibbs Stadium. At halftime on these telecasts, we've been taking a look at things you don't see or things maybe you don't know about what goes on during a Wofford football game. And today, our executive producer, Garrett, asked us to tell you about us. So I'm Mark Hauser. I'm the play-by-play announcer.
I'm Thom Henson, the color analyst.
Right. So we are here for every home game for football and men's basketball. We do the ESPN3 telecast, also that simulcast with our radio broadcast, which is on the Wofford website and TuneIn Radio. And then we go on the road for all the football and basketball games, and those are on the TuneIn Radio app.
Yep, it's a lot of fun. This is year 26.
26. My first year was Sean Graves' last year. That would have been 1992.
Which was my freshman year at the college.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Put things in context.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then you've been here since.
This is my 18th football season with you, and will be my 19th basketball season.
Right. So we've been working together for a long time, and we get along pretty well.
Absolutely.
We room together on the road, which at times can be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And we call games. That's what we do.
How did you find out about Wofford?
Let's see. I moved to South Carolina. I moved to Greenville in 1990. I became the play-by-play voice of the old Braves AA affiliate, the Greenville Braves. And I was looking for an off-season gig to do some football and basketball in addition to calling baseball. And I had, obviously Clemson wasn't available. Jim Phillips, South Carolina wasn't available. Bob Fulton. Furman had a friend of mine named Doug Holliday, so I was like, well, who else, plays college football around here? And there was a school in Spartanburg, Wofford College, at the time Division II. I called Mark Cohen. He had no idea who I was, and he said, well, we've got somebody, so we really, don't need anybody. And then the fellow who had been doing play-by-play was a television news anchor named Mark Cabell, and he was moved by the parent company of Channel 7 to a city down in Florida. And all of a sudden they needed somebody. And Pete Yanity, who at the time was the sports director at Channel 7, came by a G-Braves game one night and said, I don't know if you know, but Wofford's looking for a football and basketball play-by-play guy because Mark Cabell is leaving the market. And I got a call from a fella named Greg McKinney, who was program director at the Wofford flagship station back then. And we had lunch. He listened to my tape. I eventually ended up meeting Danny Morrison and Mike Ayers. Mike Ayers said, what do you know about football? I said, well, I know you run the ball a lot.
Some things never change.
That's right. And ended up getting hired. And let's see, you grew up in Georgia.
Yeah.
So and you ended up being a student here. So how did you find out about Wofford?
My family moved to South Carolina when I was in high school. And before then, I'd never heard of Wofford, quite honestly. It was UGA or Georgia Southern was all I kind of knew. And but I had a minister at the church we attended who was a Wofford grad. And he said, Methodist Church, Wofford and Methodist School. He said, you ought to just visit there. He said, I think you'd be a Wofford man. And I said, okay, I'm not sure what that means, but I'll take it as a compliment.
You know what it means now, though, right?
Absolutely do. And so I remember coming here and visiting, and it was on a Saturday, and sticking around for a football game. And so it would have been Sean Graves' sophomore year of college, and I remember watching him play and just really being impressed with the whole atmosphere, the whole environment, just the school in general. And so when it came time for me to decide on colleges, this was where I wanted to go, and it worked out for me to be able to be here. And so, I started here in the fall of 1992 as a student when you were starting radio, and enjoyed my time as a student. And then when I got a chance to come back and work here in 2000 after I had started doing radio thanks to Mark Cohen, who said we need somebody to do color with basketball games, and he said, do you have any radio experience? And I said, I don't have any. He goes, you're perfect.
Yeah, you were perfect. Yeah, that was perfect, actually.
So we I plugged in with you. The very first game I ever did on radio was Wofford's win over Clemson in basketball.
Oh, that's right.
And I think Richard told me, Richard Johnson, the head coach at the time, now athletic director, told me that you signed. He said, you just signed a lifetime contract, and I kind of took him at his word, so here I still am. But when I got a chance to come back to work here, and the reason that happened was because Joe Lassane, who was at that time president of Wofford and now works with the football team, said, there's an opening in the admissions office, and you need to apply for it. It was halftime of a Wofford Furman basketball game in Greenville. Well, when the president of the college tells you to do something, hey, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I knew I should do it. And that led to a job in admissions, and I transitioned into fundraising and now alumni and parent work, and just kind of been here ever since.
It's a great win for us. You know, when I go back and look at it a couple years back from now, I'm not going to say, well, you know, Larry didn't have a full deck of cards to play with. He had guys hurt. I'm going to look back at it and say I beat a heck of a coach in Larry Shiat, and it's just a great win for our program.
But I don't believe it was just the shots. I thought they had a calmness about them, and we did not. And as I said, I'm responsible for that, regardless of if we're young or if this is new to us.
Gets that monkey off our back. You know, we felt we could do it, and we thought we could do it, and now we finally did it, you know. And it's like, now that you can do it, you go into those games knowing that you can win. You know, you don't go in trying to compete.
Over the course of these 26 years, what kind of changes have you seen, not only in the school going from, you know, D2 to D1, but just kind of in how broadcasts are done?
Oh, my gosh. Well, if you go back to the 90s, the early 90s especially, for basketball, I would drive the old WSPA van over here with the mast, and I'd have to put the antenna up in the parking lot. And then if something happened between the transmit from below the broadcast table to the truck, as game action is going on, I'm either diving under the table or running out to the truck while we're on the air to see why the game isn't on the air. So that was fun.
A lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot of changes, yeah. Now we've gone from doing it over a phone line to doing it over the internet with IP. So there have been a number of technological changes. You know, it's funny, though. The travel's still pretty much the same. You get in the car with the sports information director. It's Brent. Used to be Steve Shutt. Used to be Mark Cohen before that. We get in the car and we drive to wherever we're going, unless we have a charter flight or with basketball, a commercial flight somewhere. So that really hasn't changed all that much.
We've seen no zone out of the Cats tonight. Little surprising. Cochran has the ball knocked away by Sinclair, but he recovers now between the circles. It's Skinner. Left side, high Garcia. Circles with a right-handed dribble. Right wing Cochran. High arcing three. Good. Carl Cochran could have brought rain, and Wofford leads 61-45. He's heated up. That's 11 all in the second half.
What about the difference in the teams? What kind of growth have you seen from Wofford Athletics in the 26 years?
Well, it's a big deal. If you had told me when I got hired in 1992 that we'd finish the football season at South Carolina, or we would play Clemson when they were ranked number 1 or number 2 in the country, I would have laughed and said, no, we're a Division II program. Our big game that year was East Tennessee State, or playing at a Furman. It's pretty neat when you think about the fact next year football goes to a place like Wyoming, that we played North Dakota State in a National Football Playoff game, that the basketball team could have, should have beat Arkansas in the NCAA tournament in Jacksonville in front of tens of thousands of people, 20,000 people. That's been a huge upgrade for the athletic program. I think it's been good for the school, obviously. It's been great for the athletes, good for the coaches. So that's what's changed. But I'll ask you this, because you work at the college. I mean, I'm a freelancer. You work at the college. You're a student here. Now you work here in the alumni office. I tell other broadcasters this. In the 26 years I've been here, I've worked with one head football coach, one offensive coordinator, and 2 head basketball coaches. And the first guy is now the athletic director, and his assistant at the time has become the head basketball coach. You tell other people in college athletics this, and their mind is blown. So there's a continuity here at Wofford unlike any other place I've ever even heard of.
Yeah, and I'm kind of living that with the broadcast, but having worked here since 2000 as well. It's just a place that people are very loyal to, and it's because you're treated well, and it's because of the people you work with, whether it's in the various departments across campus, whether it's the history department or the biology department or the folks in the space or the folks in athletics or the dining hall, wherever. There's just good people here, and so there's a lot to be said for every morning getting up and going to work with good people, and so that creates continuity, which creates kind of the track Wofford has been on over the last 20, 25 years.
And what's made our job fun is both head coaches we work with, Mike Ayers, Mike Young, They're a lot of fun. They're serious. They want to win. They have a bearing about them that I'm here to win games and develop young men or young boys into men, however narrative you want to use. But they're fun. Yeah. They're a lot of fun, either in work environment or away from the field or the court.
Yeah, and what I love about both sports, those two head coaches are very different, but have the same mindset, the same goals, just maybe sometimes go about it different ways. And what we get from them off camera, off air, or on trips is very unique. And it's something that sometimes I probably take for granted, but thinking about it, it's very special that we get that time with those two guys who certainly are tops in their field.
What I also like about Wofford is, we interview players quite a bit. We get to know the basketball players more so than football because we're on the bus with the basketball players. But I've seen interviews with kids from other schools, and I don't want to make it like Wofford's better in this, that, or the other way, but I will say this, and you having been a student here, our kids are really well-spoken. They're easy to interview. It's not like trying to pry an answer out of them. They'll tell you what you're thinking or they're thinking, and I like that.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of one-word answers. It's what amazes me is when we talk with those guys is that very few of them are using Wofford as their platform to go professional in a sport. It may happen for some basketball players, and I certainly would love to see some more football players get a crack at the NFL. Sure. But they're here to be students first and to play a sport that they love, and that's across the board in our athletic programs. And so when you sit down and you talk with a kid and he says he's a physics and applied mathematics major, one, it blows my mind. How is anybody doing that, much less a student athlete? And so that, one, they're going to be well-spoken, but two, when they graduate and finish here, they're going on to something that's going to be really worthwhile, and they're going to make a difference, and that's what any college should be trying to do, is produce alums, produce graduates who are going to make a difference.
All right, so we've been asked what players that we've worked with over the years have impressed us the most, not while playing here, but with what they've done post-school, the post-degree. And for me, it would be Chad Starks. Now, Chad Starks, I think, was a junior my first year here at Wofford in '92. He was a defensive back, and he ended up being All-American. Yeah. Kid from Columbia, came up in very difficult circumstances. Coach Ayers brought him in. Coach Ayers helped nurture him. And my daughter and I, Emma and I, had dinner with Chad Starks when he was up here a year or two ago doing some leadership conferencing work with students, with faculty on race relations. Chad has gone on to get a PhD. We contact each other by email every now and then and talk about current issues of the day. And Chad has impressed the daylights out of me with his ability to communicate. I've read some of his written work. It's brilliant. So here's a guy who came from difficult circumstances, socially, economically, overcame them all, now runs his own consulting firm in Virginia, and is one of the smartest people you're going to meet. He went from starting from scratch to having a PhD. So that's impressed me.
That's unbelievably remarkable. The first one that came to mind for me, and it's maybe not so much what he has done professionally since he's graduated, because he's only graduated in the last couple of years, but Lee Skinner is the one that always comes to mind for me. From near the Chicago area, and what has struck me was he came on with us after one of the Southern Conference championships his senior year, and he said, I wasn't even supposed to go to college. Yeah, I was supposed to just work in a car mechanic shop. That I was just going to be a car mechanic. And somebody saw something in him, and he eventually found his way to Wofford. And like myself, Lee would tell you first he struggled academically here, but figured it out and graduated from here. Is playing professionally, but the growth and the maturity he had throughout his 4 years, but the intangibles, the leadership, the way he had a drive, a passion. Whenever his basketball career finishes, and that's not going to be soon, because I saw last night he scored 26 and had 15 boards over in Europe playing professionally. He's going to be very successful just because of that. He wouldn't quit. He wouldn't take no. He just kept fighting, and so there's so many stories of those of a Chad Starks or a Lee Skinner that we've seen, but I think those are the first two that came to our mind, and that's something Wofford does. And colleges across the country do that.
Sure.
But our experience is with Wofford and our student athletes. And so it's remarkable to see how it can change generations. Coming here, doing what you're supposed to do academically and athletically can change the whole course of a family.
And then you think about some of the outstanding academic kids we've worked with. Mitch Allen.
Yeah, Brad Losing,
an academic All-American. I mean, Malik Rivera on this year's football team, triple major in like physics, computer sci, and math. Are you kidding me? And he has time for football, and he's taking all the labs. That to me is mind-blowing in a lot of ways, and it speaks highly to what goes on here at the college.
Academics first and foremost. That's the most important thing, and you're here to get that degree, and the professors do an amazing job. And that's one of the benefits of a liberal arts education like Wofford, is it offers you that opportunity to be taken to the highest challenges academically, but when you graduate from here, you're prepared and you're ready for whatever the next steps are.
Your head coach just finished cutting down the net. You got anything to say about that guy?
I love him. He's more than a coach, more than a friend. He's like a mentor. He's one of my favorite people in this whole world. He's just a great guy. I can't put into words how I feel about him, and he knows that, and I hope he does.
I'm going to ask you one more thing before we let you go. We've been keeping you long enough. Todd Shaughnessy wrote a piece in the paper about the fact that there was a point you didn't even think you were going to go to college. You thought you'd go another route, learn a trade, and you got talked into coming to school and being a basketball player and getting a 4-year degree at a very good liberal arts school. Talk about the decision you made and how it's impacted you.
Again, the reason why I admire Coach Young so much is, I didn't think I was going to go to college. I didn't want to play D2. I felt I was better than that. Was passed up. And I ended up going to Fork Union Military Academy, where Coach Young also went. And I got an opportunity. I felt like I could do better on the basketball court. And, if I could play basketball and get school paid for, which I am now, Coach Young came, and I say this all the time, he saved me, because I don't know where I would be right now without Wofford College. I'm forever thankful for Wofford and Coach Young. And especially these guys right here, they're my brothers. I grew up an only child, but I've got 14 brothers right there.
Well, go hang with your brothers.
Thank you.
Best football moment for you? Either broadcast or as a fan, but it's almost the same for you sometimes.
Yeah, it has been the same. Probably at Montana. Just because it was a place no warm weather team had ever won. It was 13 degrees. The atmosphere was off the charts.
Yeah.
And then, to win in the fashion on a missed field goal when everybody in the country, we were sent there to lose and then didn't. And I think part of that is also how the Montana folks reacted. They were upset they lost, but they were very complimentary of Wofford. And that tends to be the case wherever we go. We get compliments on how our players and coaches, how they play, how they coach, how they represent the school. But I think that one is the one that always stands out to me. What about you?
Montana number one, but I'll say 1A, Eric Breitenstein's last year when Wofford went down to South Carolina. Wofford was ranked in FCS. South Carolina was ranked high in FBS, and it was 7-7 going to the fourth quarter. And Spurrier used 2 timeouts within the span of about a minute when South Carolina had the ball inside the Wofford 10. And to look to the booth to our right and see Todd Ellis chuck his headset in frustration, that was kind of neat. Like, hey, look at what little old Wofford's doing to the Gamecocks. That was a lot of fun. But the Montana moment when that field goal missed, and Michael Hobbs had scored the touchdown just moments before that. That was fantastic. And then another big one, and the stadium wasn't nearly as electric because Georgia Southern wasn't having a great year. But when Michael Hobbs ran 99 yards for that touchdown at Georgia Southern, and you said, and look at all the fans leaving. That was one of the funniest darn things. It was great. Now, how about basketball?
Oh, gosh.
There have been some good ones.
There have been some good ones. I always go back to the first Southern Conference championship win over App State in Charlotte, just because the season had been so great. But to get over that hump, to finally maybe make the tournament, make the NCAA tournament, and then to do it was really special. To see the busloads of students there, the alums, the faculty, the staff, and to kind of have gone, as you said, we go on that journey with them from November through March, and to see the what they were able to work hard for and then achieve, and then also to see Mike Young be able to have that moment, it was really cool. We've gone so many great places and so many quality venues, but just that first championship game, I think will probably always stand out.
I enjoyed the win over App State to get the first championship, and then College of Charleston the next one. And a great story from the College of Charleston win at Chattanooga. Henson and I are packing up our stuff, and you found something on the floor.
Yeah,
do you still have it?
I still have it.
Tell them what it is.
So we're we were packing up our gear, and towards the trash can area, I'm throwing some stuff away, and there on the floor is a certificate. So I pick it up, and it's the official certificate for invitation as the conference champion to the NCAA tournament, but it has College of Charleston written on it. They have two of them, and the one for Charleston clearly was supposed to be thrown in the trash. It didn't quite make it, so it was on the floor, and I picked it up, and I still have it to this day. Kind of my little souvenir from that win.
It's like getting an upside down postage stamp or something.
Yeah, or a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl champ shirt.
That's funny. Now, for me, the best moment was the first time Wofford won the SoCon basketball championship in Asheville because of the atmosphere at the Coliseum up there. Beat Western Carolina. Yep. The place was probably 35, 40% Wofford fans, and the rest, of course, Western, because it's not very far from Asheville. Place, there wasn't an empty seat in the house. It was loud. It was electric. It sounded like it could be in any big time venue in the country. And then for Wofford to win that game, Western had a 3 at the buzzer. Sumler, who was a great player, happened to miss it, and Wofford hung on to win. That for me was the best because he misses the shot. The buzzer goes. Our players mob each other at midcourt, and then here come the students.
Yeah.
And for me, I thought, you know what? You see this in championship week with other schools, but it was your school, and it was a really great moment.
So he wants to set up the defense with Wofford. You can run the baseline. Here's Sumler. Sumler with 3. Sumler fires to tie. Time in the last 5 years, the Terriers are headed to the NCAA tournament.
Thing you most want to see for Wofford in the next few years?
I have 2 things. One, and this is cliche, everybody wants this. I want a national championship in football, and I want it for one man. I want it for Mike Ayers.
Yes.
Because of what he has meant to this school, what he's meant to this athletic department, this football program. He has built it, and people, you get what you deserve. That man deserves a national championship because of what he's done and the lives that he's shaped and changed. And we'll see if that's a possibility. We'll see if that happens. And then the other one I want, for just selfish reasons, is I want to run in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And mainly I want that just because I remember what Davidson did in the Steph Curry days. And to be able to be there and just be a part of it is one thing, but to be able to win and stick around, I think would totally blow the lid off of everything. And, I'm not asking for much. A national championship and a Sweet 16 run.
That's it,
man. That's nothing.
See,
come on.
You're easy. You're low maintenance.
Yeah, I'm very low maintenance.
I too would like a championship for Mike Ayers. And in basketball, I would like at least one NCAA tournament win because I think it would light this school on fire in terms of excitement. And then there's one more thing I want, but it's just for me. Jimmy Gibbs, if you win the bid this year for the Mike Ayers fishing trip, I want you to give it to me. I want to go fishing with Mike Ayers one time. I'm not a fly fisherman. I'll throw a worm in the water on a hook, but I want to spend 3-4 hours in a boat with Coach Ayers and just talk about the world. I think that'd be
I think you deserve that.
That would be the best thing ever.
And I think Coach deserves to have that happen to him.
You've had to live that, not in a boat. It's not as much fun as you might think. But that's something I'd like.
I'd
And who knows, Mike might be here longer than I am. He might be here another 10 years.
There's no telling.
He's not slowing down.
No.
He's speeding up.
Not completely. And still runs a quality program. He's got great assistants. And when I got into this, God bless Mark Cohen, or God punish him, he's the reason I got into this. I said I would stop doing it when it wasn't fun anymore. Well, 18, 19 years later, it's still fun. It's still a blast. And, part of that is the people who listen, who watch, and give us feedback that they enjoy the broadcast, that they know we're rooting for Wofford, and they know we want Wofford to win, but we try to be fair. But we have a good time. And that's the most important thing, and this is have fun with it. Yeah.